She can feel your energy before you even say a word. And she's already decided how to treat you. You walk into a room, you haven't said anything, you haven't smiled, you haven't even made eye contact yet. But she already knows. She knows if you're confident or needy. She knows if you're grounded or desperate. She knows if you're living for yourself or for her approval. Not because she's psychic, but because women are masters of emotional awareness. They are trained from a young age to read unspoken energy, not with logic, but with instinct. She feels your presence, your tone, your silence, even your intentions. And if your energy screams, "Please like me," she'll feel it. Even if your words are smooth. That's why what she thinks about you, what she feels about you, often has nothing to do with what you say, and everything to do with how you carry yourself. But here's the twist. She'll rarely say these thoughts out loud. Not because she's lying, but because some truths are too uncomfortable to admit, even to herself. She doesn't want to admit that she loses interest when you're too available, or that she's more attracted to the man she has to wonder about, or that she actually wants to feel a bit unsure, because it keeps the fire alive. That would make her feel manipulative or cold. But it's not that she's playing games. It's just how emotional attraction works. So if you've ever wondered, why do women lose interest when I try harder? Why did she pull away when I gave her everything? Why does she say she wants a nice guy, but chase someone else? It's time you decoded what she won't say. And it starts by understanding this. Your presence is your power, but your detachment is your magnet. A man who's too focused on her, she feels it, and it pressures her. A man who is focused on his mission, she feels that too, and it pulls her in. That's the first secret. It's not what you say. It's not how expensive your gifts are. It's not how many texts you send. It's the emotional tone you give off. And when that tone says, "I'm good either way, with or without you," something inside her wakes up. She doesn't understand it. She can't always explain it, but she feels it. A man who doesn't chase her. A man who doesn't try to impress her. A man who isn't moved by her mood swings. That man, he feels rare, and rare men are addictive. But here's where most men mess up. They hear this and try to fake detachment. They act cold. They ignore her on purpose. They try to be alpha by pretending not to care. But pretending won't work. Because remember, she doesn't just hear your words. She feels your truth. If you're still chasing validation inside, if you're still seeking approval underneath the surface, she'll pick it up instantly. Detachment isn't pretending you don't care. It's truly being fulfilled on your own. It's building a life that feels complete, whether she's in it or not. It's not about being arrogant. It's about being anchored. When she feels that, she thinks, what's different about him? Why does he feel so steady? Why do I feel nervous around him, but in a good way? And that nervousness, that uncertainty, that desire to prove herself to you, that's attraction. Not because you chased her, not because you tried to win her, but because you don't need her to feel whole. She won't tell you this. She'll never say, please stop texting me so much. I want to miss you. Orient, I lose respect when you drop your purpose for me. But those are exactly the feelings happening behind the curtain. You don't need to be cruel. You don't need to manipulate. You just need to live for your own mission. And from that space dash, you let her wander. Because when a man walks through life with purpose, peace, and presence, she senses it. And though she may never say the words out loud, she's thinking, this man feels different. He doesn't need me, but I want him anyway. How do I get closer to him without losing myself? Congratulations. That's when you've stopped chasing and started leading. That's what she'll never admit, but it's exactly what she feels. She secretly wants you to be the man she can't fully figure out. Let me tell you a truth most men ignore. Mystery is power, but not the kind that comes from pretending. Not from playing hard to get. Not from sending mixed signals. I'm talking about the kind of mystery that happens when a man is so focused on his own life that he becomes naturally unpredictable because he's not trying to be anything for anyone. Here's the real game changer. Women are addicted to emotional puzzles. If she knows exactly what you're doing, what you're thinking, and how you feel about her at all times, she doesn't feel pulled in. Not because she's mean. Not because she wants to hurt you. But because the human brain craves the unknown, especially the female mind, which is wired for emotional storytelling. When everything is obvious, there's no more story to tell. So what happens? She gets bored. She convinces herself you're too easy. She starts to drift emotionally. And again, she won't say this out loud. She might even tell you she wants a man who opens up more. She might say she wants full honesty always, but too much transparency, too much emotional exposure too soon, it makes her feel like she already has you. And once she feels that, the chase dies. Here's the truth she won't say. She wants to feel like there's more to you. She wants to feel like you're a man with hidden depths. Like there are parts of your world she has to earn the right to see. That doesn't mean you're cold. It means you don't spill everything. You keep your goals, your pain, your desires close to your chest. Not out of fear, but out of strength. Because only weak men overshare too quickly. Only insecure men try to use emotional openness to win favor. A stoic man knows this. The less I try to prove myself, the more powerful I feel. You don't need to explain yourself all the time. You don't need to say where you're going, what you're doing, or how you feel. Every moment, let her wonder a little. Let her ask. Let her work to understand you. That space you create, that quiet confidence, it's not silence, it's strength. And here's the part she'll never admit. When you stop oversharing, she starts leaning in. She starts asking more questions. She starts looking for ways to get closer. Why? Because now you're a man with walls. And women are drawn to men who have something to protect. If you give everything away too fast, there's nothing to protect, nothing to earn, nothing to respect. So don't fear a little mystery. It's not about being cold. It's about being whole, on your own. And when she senses that you're good with or without her, that's when the real attraction begins. Because now she sees you as a challenge worth rising to. You've flipped the script. Instead of chasing her approval, you've made her curious. Instead of feeding her ego, you've sparked her imagination. And instead of being just another man who gives too much, you've become the man she wants to understand, respect, and pursue. That's not arrogance. That's detachment. Not from emotion, but from need. And the moment she realizes she can't fully figure you out, she thinks, what's going on in his world? Who is this man? Really? Why do I keep thinking about him when he's not even trying? That is the beginning of emotional addiction. And it starts when you stop handing her the answers and start living like the question. The moment you stop needing her attention is the moment she starts craving yours. There's a switch that flips in her mind, and most men never see it coming. At first, she likes the attention. She likes being seen, adored, complimented. She likes that you think she's special. But eventually, that attention stops feeling like a gift. It starts to feel like a given. And once something becomes expected, it stops having value. Here's what women won't say out loud. I want to feel chosen, not chased. I want to be seen by a man who sees everything, but doesn't give himself to just anyone. When you give her all your time, all your energy, all your mind share, she doesn't feel lucky. She feels in control. And when she feels in control, she loses respect. This is what nice guys don't understand. They think the way to a woman's heart is through more effort, more texting, more compliments, more availability. But that kind of giving, when it's not earned, doesn't build connection. It builds dependence. And dependence makes her pull away. Because deep down, she starts to feel something she can't explain. If this man gives me everything so easily, how can I trust his value? Women don't fall in love with generosity. They fall in love with men of purpose. Men who don't revolve around them. Men who have a life, a mission, a direction, with or without her. And this is where Stoic wisdom changes the game. When you stop living to impress, when you stop giving just to be liked, when you stop chasing and start choosing, she feels it. She senses that your time is now earned, not free. That your energy is now protected, not thrown around. That your attention is now rare, not constant. And that changes everything. Suddenly she has to rise. Suddenly she has to show you she's worth your time. Suddenly she starts thinking about you more. Because now she doesn't just have you. She has to win you. This is the psychological button she won't admit exists. Women want to feel like they could lose your interest. Not because they want fear or games, but because that's what keeps them emotionally invested. Safety is attractive, but certainty too soon is boring. So what's the solution? Detach from the outcome. Not from her, not from love, but from the need to be chosen. When you're okay either way, when you're whole on your own, when your life doesn't pause for her validation, she starts watching you differently. She starts wondering where you are. She starts texting first. She starts noticing how quiet you've become, and it bothers her. There's something women feel, but rarely say out loud. If he's always there, I don't have to be. This isn't about playing hard to get. This isn't about trying to trick her into wanting you. This is about how human nature works, especially in attraction. When something is always there, we stop noticing it. When something is always available, we stop reaching for it. And when a man constantly centers his world around a woman, she starts to emotionally check out. Not because she's cruel, but because your total availability removes the tension that keeps attraction alive. Now here's the hidden truth. She wants a man she can trust, but not one she can control. If she can predict your every move, if you're always saying yes, if you drop everything just to reply, if you wait around for her plans, her schedule, her feelings, she starts to feel like the leader. And the moment she feels like the leader, she stops feeling desire. Why? Because women don't want to lead the emotional dance. They want to feel your gravity. She won't say it, but this is what she's thinking. If I can control this man's emotions, how can I feel safe trusting him? Here's where Stoic detachment becomes your greatest power. You don't pull back out of spite. You don't withdraw to punish her. You simply live your life first. You build your world, your habits, your body, your mind. You stop checking your phone every 3 minutes. You stop waiting for her next text to feel okay about yourself. You don't do it to make her wonder, though she will. You do it because you have a higher code to live by now. You are no longer ruled by impulse or neediness. You're ruled by mission and principle. And something powerful happens when you do this. She starts checking her phone more. She starts feeling that gap. She starts wondering if she misread you. If maybe she doesn't have you fully after all. And suddenly her curiosity becomes emotional pull. Not because you said something clever, not because you were cold or mysterious, but because you became a man who cannot be controlled by a woman's mood. She starts to admire that, respect that, even crave that. Because while most men fold the second she gets distant, you didn't. While most men get anxious and over-communicate, you stayed silent. Not to punish, but because you had things to do. You had peace to protect. You had no time to chase someone who wasn't reaching back. And now, she's re-evaluating your value. She's realizing he's not like the rest. I don't control him. I have to earn him. That flips the emotional script. She's the one seeking certainty now. She's the one trying to figure you out. She's the one chasing emotional closeness, not just receiving it. And all of it happens because of one thing. You are willing to risk her absence to keep your self-respect. That's the rarest kind of man. And that's the kind of man women remember. If she can interrupt your purpose, she can never fully respect your presence. There's a secret belief women carry that they won't tell you directly. It goes like this: if he changes who he is for me, then maybe he wasn't solid to begin with. See, most men think adapting to her is the key. Changing your schedule for her, abandoning your goals to prove you care, always being available to show you're different from other guys. But here's what she's silently thinking while you do all that. If I can so easily pull him off track, is he really the man I want to follow? Women don't test you with logic. They test you with energy. She'll cancel plans last minute. She'll go silent for a day. She'll say something emotional to see how you react. And what she's really trying to learn, deep down, is this: can this man handle pressure without losing himself? The answer you give doesn't come from your words. It comes from your response. It comes from what you choose to prioritize, even when her attention is inconsistent. That's why purpose matters more than anything. When your life is driven by mission, not emotion, you become untouchable. Not cold, not closed off, but grounded. You don't chase after her when she gets moody. You don't beg for validation when she goes quiet. You don't crumble just because the attention fades for a moment. Why? Because you were never fueled by her approval. You were already running on something deeper: your code, your values, your vision. That's the kind of man women can't get out of their heads. The man who's centered. The man who isn't shaken by every emotional gust. The man who holds the frame, even when she tries to bend it. She'll never say it. But this is what she's watching for. Can he keep moving forward, even if I'm not smiling at him right now? And if the answer is yes, that's when respect turns into curiosity. Curiosity turns into admiration. And admiration turns into emotional connection that she chases, not you. Because in her mind, that man is rare. He doesn't need her to function. He doesn't lose sleep over silence. He doesn't press pause on his life to wait for a woman's affection. Instead, he does something more powerful. He keeps building his kingdom and lets her decide if she wants to rise with him. That's when the game changes. That's when you're no longer proving yourself to her. She's proving herself to you. Because while every other man is desperate to be chosen, you became the man she hopes chooses her. And that's what she'd never admit out loud, but deeply feels inside every time you walk away with peace. Not bitterness, The more certain you are of who you are, the more she doubts who she is without you. Here's a truth most men never realize until it's too late. Certainty is more attractive than looks, money, or charm. Not cocky talk, not empty bravado, but quiet, grounded certainty. The kind that comes from a man who knows himself so well. Nothing shakes him. Now here's where it gets interesting. She may never say this out loud, but a woman is constantly scanning your energy for one thing. Do you believe in yourself more than I believe in my doubts? Because if you do, she'll lean in, she'll soften, she'll want to be around you more. But if you don't, if you start explaining yourself too much, if you start chasing her approval, if you try to win her over when she gets cold, she feels it. She senses your insecurity like a scent in the air. And you'll never hear her admit it, but she starts to think, if he needs me this badly to feel okay, how can I trust him to lead anything? That's why emotional certainty is your most powerful weapon. Not emotional control like a robot, but mastery. The ability to feel, acknowledge, and still move with direction. You don't panic when she gets distant. You don't break down when she tests your patience. You don't become a different man just to win a few moments of her affection. Instead, you keep your tone calm. You keep your mind clear. And you let her feel the one thing she can't explain. Safety in your energy. That safety isn't created by what you say. It's created by how unbothered you are when she acts out of character. Here's what she's secretly thinking when you stay cool in the face of chaos. Maybe he's stronger than I thought. Maybe I can trust this. See, most women live in a world of emotional movement. It's part of their strength to feel deeply, to sense shifts, to flow with the moment. But that's why they crave what they don't have. A man who is still, a man who is certain, a man who is unaffected by the waves, because he's the rock underneath them. She might never tell you this. She might even act annoyed by your calmness. But deep down, that calmness makes her feel something she rarely experiences. Respect. Not just attraction, not just desire, but admiration for a man who refuses to lose himself, even when she throws a storm his way. And that right there is a psychological switch she doesn't even know is happening. She stops trying to lead the dance because she knows she's finally found someone who can. So while she may never say the words, she's watching every reaction you give to see if your certainty is real. And when it is, that's when she becomes emotionally hooked. not because you chased her, but because you gave her something more powerful than words. Unshakable masculine presence. Tentate to be. If she can control you, she can't desire you, and she'll never tell you that. Here's something wild that no one teaches men. The moment she realizes she can emotionally control you, she loses interest. Now, she won't say this. In fact, she might act like she wants control. She might test you, push your buttons, and see if you'll break. But deep down, what she actually wants is to be stopped. Not forcefully, not with anger, but with calm, grounded resistance. She wants to feel the power of a man who won't fold under pressure. She wants to feel the tension of trying to sway you and failing. Why? Because that's when she knows she's with a real man. Not a boy in a man's body. Not a people pleaser wearing a mask of masculinity. But a man with a spine made of steel, who chooses his path and doesn't veer off it just to gain favor. Here's where most guys fall apart. She gets upset. They apologize just to make the problem go away. She withdraws. They chase to fix it. She questions their decisions. They start second-guessing themselves. And what does she secretly think? If I can throw him off just by getting emotional, how will he protect me from anything? This is why detachment is so powerful. It sends a silent message. You can express your emotions, but they won't shake my center. That message hits her differently, because now you're not reacting to her. You're observing. You're grounded. You're still. And guess what? That stillness, it's rare. It's magnetic. It makes her feel something deeper than attraction. A longing to earn your emotional energy. Because when she realizes she doesn't control your mood, she starts chasing your approval. She starts working harder for your attention. She starts asking herself, what is it about this man that makes him so sure of himself? And just like that, you flipped the script. She acts like your strength annoys her, but it secretly turns her on. Here's a mind twist most men never see coming. When you stop being emotionally available on demand, she might act irritated, cold, even distant. She might say things like, "You never open up," or "Why can't you be more like other guys?" But inside, something completely different is happening. She's watching you, studying you, trying to figure out why you're not bending like everyone else. Why you're not offering your emotions like a vending machine whenever she presses the button. And the more she fails to control your emotional state, the more she feels that slow, magnetic pull of curiosity. See, this is the part women rarely understand about themselves. So of course they'll never admit it to you. They need to feel tension to feel attraction, not stress, not chaos, but that emotional tension that makes them think, who is this man? And why does he feel so complete without me? That's the secret. She wants to feel like she's entering your world, not like you're orbiting hers. When you're always available, always reassuring her, always sharing every emotion at every moment. It sounds nice on paper. It sounds like healthy communication. But in practice, it kills the charge. It turns mystery into routine. It turns power into predictability. And once that emotional electricity is gone, so is the attraction. Here's what creates that charge. You are calm when she's chaotic. You are still when she's spinning. You are silent when she expects a reaction. Not to punish her, not to confuse her, but because you're at peace with yourself. You don't need to fill every silence. You don't need to solve every emotion. You don't need to perform for approval. That stillness tells her something deep, something primal, something she can feel but would never say. This man is safe, but I can't control him, and I crave what I can't control. Let that sink in. She might say she wants total openness. She might complain that you don't share enough. But deep inside, she respects your silence when it's real. She admires your emotional discipline. She feels pulled toward your mystery, even if she resists it. So when she throws that test at you, that jab, that cold shoulder, that sarcastic remark, don't react, don't explain, don't chase, just observe. Let it pass. Stay grounded. That's how you flip the emotional dynamic. Because what she thinks about you, but won't say, is this: I wish I could shake him, but I'm also glad I can't. And the more she feels that, the more she starts chasing your presence. Not because she's bored or lonely, but because she sees you as a rare man in a world full of noise. Calm, clear, confident, and completely unshaken. She pretends to be turned off by your detachment, but she's checking your stories in the dark at 1 a.m. Here's what nobody tells you about emotional detachment. It doesn't push her away. It pulls her deeper into your orbit, quietly, invisibly. Not because you're playing hard to get, but because you've stopped needing anything from her. And that That's irresistible to a woman who's used to being the one with the emotional upper hand. She might roll her eyes at your peace. She might act like she doesn't care. But when she's alone, when the world goes quiet, she's thinking, why doesn't he try harder with me? Why is he okay without my attention? Why do I want to text him right now when he's not even thinking about me? She'll never say this out loud, but that detachment, that absence, it disrupts her control. And that disruption, it triggers the chase. Because here's the hidden truth behind most modern relationships. A man who is always available, always emotionally invested, always texting good morning and good night, eventually becomes invisible. But a man who stays calm in her storm, a man who has nothing to prove, a man who can vanish into his own purpose and not apologize for it. That man becomes a myth in her mind. She remembers you differently. You're not just another guy she dated. You're the man who didn't need her, and yet had her attention anyway. Here's the Stoic key. Detachment isn't cold. It isn't mean. It isn't about ignoring her. It's about staying rooted in your own reality, no matter how she reacts. She sends a dry text. You don't spiral. She gets distant. You stay centered. She gives attitude. You don't match it. You observe it. And what happens when you master this level of emotional control? She starts chasing clarity. What is he thinking? Does he even care? Why do I feel more drawn to him now than when he was trying? She won't admit this to her friends. She might not even admit it to herself. But every time she sees that you're not shaken by her tests, every time she watches you disappear into your mission, every time she wonders what you're up to, and the answer is never about her, her mind starts spinning. That's the psychological button nobody talks about. Emotional availability on your own terms. You're not cold. You're not playing games. You're just centered. And that center becomes gravity. It pulls her in, even when she fights it. Even when she tells herself she's over you. So the next time you wonder if your calmness is turning her off, remember this. She doesn't want to lead the dance. She wants to be led by a man who doesn't chase, doesn't beg, and doesn't break. She wants to be around a man who could walk away at any time, but chooses not to. For now. And that choice, that rare quiet power, that's what she's thinking about, but would never admit. She secretly wishes you'd stop giving her all that attention. And here's why that's the most attractive thing you could do. There's a powerful, almost paradoxical secrets that very few men understand when it comes to women and attraction. The truth is, attention is overrated, but scarcity drives obsession. It sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? We've all heard the advice: give her attention, show you care, always be available. But here's the thing: when you give too much of yourself, when you're always available to fulfill her emotional needs, you aren't creating attraction, you're creating dependence. When you're too available, she can predict every move you make. You become a part of the furniture, a fixture in her life, and that's not what she wants. Not deep down. Women crave mystery, uncertainty, and the thrill of not knowing what you're going to do next. They don't want to feel as if they can always reach you with a text, phone call, or sudden need for attention. But don't mistake this for needing to play games. This isn't about being elusive or hard to reach just for the sake of it. It's about having your own life, a life that's rich with purpose, independence, and direction. Women are drawn to men who are fully immersed in their own world. Men who have a mission, a cause, or a set of passions that don't revolve around them. Because here's the deep, hidden thing she's not admitting. She doesn't want to be your whole world. She wants to be a part of it. A significant part, but not the only part. And when you focus on your life first, when you make your own happiness, success, and peace your primary focus, she'll respect you more than she ever could when you were chasing her every move. This doesn't mean you're playing games. It doesn't mean you're abandoning her. It means you're not letting her become your everything. You're letting her choose to be a part of your world. And that choice is far more powerful than any amount of attention or affection you could give her. The power of emotional detachment. When you stop reacting to her every move, when you stop chasing her validation, when you stop giving her more of your energy than you give yourself, you create the ultimate power dynamic. You hold the cards. You're not invested in the outcome. You're just living your life on your terms. And that's magnetic. Here's the crucial truth about attraction. It's not about being present 100% of the time. It's about being present when it matters and absent when it doesn't. When you create this natural ebb and flow, where your attention is a precious gift, not a constant stream, you leave her wanting more. And when a woman is left wanting more of you, she begins to crave you in ways she can't explain. The key here is simple: be yourself, without fear of being rejected or judged. Be complete, without depending on anyone else to feel whole. Because when you operate from a place of inner strength, when you're emotionally detached but still emotionally available in the right moments, women will begin to see you for who you truly are. A man who commands respect, not because you demand it, but because it's naturally given. The subtle power of absence. So what's the real key? What's the psychological button you're pressing when you stop giving her everything she expects? It's absence. Strategic absence. Not because you're trying to manipulate or test her, but because you're busy with your own life. You've got your own passions. You're emotionally stable. You're not dependent on her for your happiness. This absence sends a clear, powerful message. You are not the center of my world. And the crazy thing is, she'll start chasing you. Not because you've been distant or playing games, but because you've been emotionally detached. And in that detachment, she sees something rare. A man who doesn't rely on her for validation, affection, or approval. And that's the key to making her chase you. Women are not attracted to men who are emotionally dependent. They are attracted to men who are emotionally self-sufficient. Conclusion. Your new reality. In the end, women are drawn to men who have self-respect, emotional control, and a fulfilling life of their own. She doesn't need you to be there 24/7. That's the ultimate key to attraction. Detachment with purpose. She wants a man who could walk away, but chooses to stay. And that choice, that's what will make her rechase you every single time